Hello. Can you hear?
Guys, yeah, I can. How are you?
Hi. Good. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. Thanks for joining us and John being willing to let John talk with you guys a little bit about how you do prayer on your Alpha.
Yeah. I don't know if you could hear us before. Could you? We were praying, so.
Oh, I could tell you were praying, but I could not hear you. So,
We thought we were offline.
yeah, no, the video was on, so we could see you praying. I was the only one here, so you're all good.
All right. Well, it's good to see you. You've been okay?
Yeah, doing fine. Just, busy time of year. Everybody's getting back into the swing of things with school and routines and all that. So, yeah. But it's good. We're all good. So, how about you guys?
Same.
Yeah.
You have
Full life.
4 kids, so you're
Things are hopping.
Yep. A little bit, right?
Yeah.
It's always kind of a bummer.
I'm in the empty nest now, so
Okay.
it's
a little
simpler.
different for you, right? Is that a good thing? Are you missing all of the hubbub of school starting? Are you enjoying your empty nesting?
I'm enjoying it more and more. Yeah, it's been a transition, but it's good.
Well, good. Good deal.
Yeah.
Very nice. I think we may end up having another girl, one of our other hub directors, join us, but I don't know if she's going to be able to be on for the whole call. So we may have two churches represented, just talking with John when he gets to the prayer piece. But we've got a couple things we need to do before we jump into all that. So he should be joining shortly. I was texting him just a few tidbits of stuff he needed to know before he jumped on the call. But anyway, he should be joining us soon. So you guys getting ready to launch a fall alpha?
Yeah, we actually have.
Oh, you have launched
3 weeks in?
Yeah, we're 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Do you guys launch right after Labor Day?
Pretty much.
Yeah. The last week of August.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I guess they've all started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's great. How many are you running right now?
6.
Wow, that's amazing. That's great. I love it that you had to stop and count. You remember how many there were.
Yeah.
That's great. That's awesome.
We all stay pretty much in sync.
Sure.
With each other.
That's great. I love to hear that. That's exciting. So far, so good?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been good.
It's been exciting.
We're still getting used to, every new course has its own dynamics and setup and challenges in the beginning. So we're still working through some of that. But yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
It always takes the first 3 weeks or so, and then things kind of take off.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Very good. Well, that's exciting to hear. It's great to hear. So it's like John's made it. You're muted.
And that's the secret to life.
Hey.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Great to see you. How's life in Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
Right.
We're doing well.
Day.
Yeah.
Sunny day, right?
Fallish. Yeah.
That's good. In Chicago, it was like the thickest fog I've seen in a long time this morning.
Wow.
So, not sure what happened, but I don't know if that travels your direction or not, but if so,
Good.
Watch out, huh?
Yeah, it'll be fun for you. So, well, great. Well, we're glad that you guys are here, and thanks for taking some time. We are recording this call, and so this is literally ground zero time of year for the launch of alphas all across the country, all across the world. Thousands of alpha courses are going to be launching. I heard you guys say you have 6 that are going to be launching.
Yeah.
So exciting. We know every single time, people step out in faith to run an alpha, very significant things are going to happen. I like to believe that at least one person's going to come to faith every time you do it.
Yes.
And it's so worth it.
Yes.
And so, yeah, it's absolutely incredible that we all get to be on this journey together. And so I think today's topic, what we're going to do, when we think about the enormity of so many churches all across the country and all across the globe that are kicking off with Alpha, we want to talk about the most important thing, which is prayer, and how we can undergird everything that we do with prayer and really ensure that we're doing the work of prayer, that we're being creative with prayer, that we're enlisting others to pray. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to hear from a couple of great examples, 2 different churches that are doing this, and would love for everybody to share their ideas on the call. And before we jump into that topic, here in just a couple minutes, we have Margine Vezel, who's on the call, who would love to give everyone an update on Alpha Resources and what has been going on with Alpha Resources this year. So Margine, thanks for being on the call, and I'm sure everybody will be excited to hear what's going on.
Hi, nice to see you. I know Michelle and Dana. I've not met you guys in Pennsylvania yet. I've been involved with Alpha for a very long time, and I found myself just the last 2 years heading up all the production of the resources. And part of my job the last 2 years has been really to make the transition over to being working with HarperCollins and ChurchSource in particular being our new distributor. So that's now happened.
Whoa. What's going on? HarperCollins? Tell us more about that.
Well, HarperCollins is just a really respected distributor of Christian products in general, but they have a Christian division. And so we really looked at where we're going as a nation, where Alpha USA is going, and we feel like we need to ramp up. We need to be able to be nimble and be able to get resources to people with a trusted partner like HarperCollins. So that has happened since August until now, moving all of our products from our warehouse, which is in Virginia, to their warehouse. And that, as of yesterday, everything is shipping now that is English product. So that's kind of a big deal. It's kind of like a big flag in the ground that now all of our English products are shipping for Alpha and Marriage Course. And then today, our warehouse, we are loading up all of our Spanish, Chinese, and French resources. And so those will be also getting to their warehouse. So we're going to have really hoping that with this new partnership, we'll be able to really resource more and more churches as they get on board, hear about Alpha. They have a whole breadth of churches that relate to them as a distributor that we don't have a relationship with, and vice versa. We have churches that they haven't had, and so I think it really is a good partnership.
Yeah, they have around 200,000 churches that are on their mailing list.
Yeah, we had like very few that we intersected with. So our database and theirs is much greater than ours. So it's pretty exciting that we can really work with a partner who's got a lot of credibility in the churches.
Yeah, that's so exciting. I mean, when we look at the American landscape of churches, there's anywhere between 300 to 350,000 churches. And to know that they've got a reach to 2/3 of those,
right,
is just phenomenal for what it means for Alpha and being able to get things out there. And so great job, Margine, in navigating this and overseeing our products. And so if you've got ideas for products, if you've got feedback for us on how we could continue to improve our products, Margine would be the person to send those to. And Margine, maybe you could put your email in the chat window there. And if you've got specific questions, she will be the person for that.
Rebecca put one in already, and this came in their July periodical, and Alpha's right there on their homepage. So this went to all their database, and Alpha got right there, and it's also inside little thing here, right the first page in, boom, there's Alpha. So that got right before people early on in this partnership.
Yeah, that's exciting. So one of the things that we will, as you guys are talking to other churches in your area or across the country, that you'll need to be mindful of is that whenever our products are mentioned in a catalog like this, it really does reinforce the idea that Alpha is a curriculum or a product. It's just another program, which, as we all know, it's way more than that. And I was speaking with one of our hub church directors in New York earlier today, David Lowe, who refers to Alpha as a practice. Alpha is like a missional practice that when you practice it regularly within your church, it transforms your culture. And I really like the idea of calling it a practice because it is something that's unique, the way that it's done, it can really transform not only the people that run it, but the entire church. So very good. Anything else to add, Margine?
I just want to say a couple things that I'm putting together an email. I'm just waiting for one final confirmation on something, but I just want to, this email will have a lot of links. It'll have a lot of good information for you, but I just want to give you an overview in terms of products and what you as Hub Church directors, because you guys are really the ones that are connecting with other churches in your area. You're training churches. You're so important to what we're doing. And we want to let you know that we really appreciate that, and we want to give you some little perks. So one of the things is that I just got approved today with Sean that we're going to be able to send you 25 of these new White Alpha brochures. Now, Michelle saw this already because she's with us in Colorado, but it's a great example we can give to anybody who's interested in finding out more about Alpha. We want to give you 25 free. And we also have some thank you cards that we want to give to you too. It's a pack of 50. It's a branded Alpha, and you can give them to your teams. You could give them to churches that you work with. Just use them, and they're our gift to you. And how you're going to get them is through our our print shop. Our print shop we've always had is where you can get any of the postcards or posters for advertising Alpha. We recently put more into it. So we put like a Catholic brochure. We put this Why Alpha brochure is going in there later this week. And so it's a nice, you have an inside portal, kind of an inside way, and you can go in and it's called a Hub Kit. So you get your Hub Kit, and it's our gift to you, no cost to you. It's just what you'll get for being a Hub Church. And then I know that when many of you signed on to being Hub Churches, you were told if you used Hub 20, you'd get a discount, 20% discount on your resources. And I'm sorry to say that right now that is probably that full off 20% is not going to be able to be honored by HarperCollins. As we're in discussion, I'm waiting for this final email to come through. We want to do something for you, but they already give 30% off. On their website, they're already giving products at 30% off. Our DVDs used to be $60. They're now selling them for $34 on the website. So some of the prices they brought way down. So they're already 30% off from the get-go. So one of the things that I'm 99% sure we're going to get is free shipping on any product at any time. So you guys only, as Hub Church directors, will get that special shipping. And if you remember, if you've been with us for a while, that shipping from when we were independent, sometimes you'd pay $200 for a $200 order. Shipping could be really expensive. So just know that you will no longer have to pay shipping. And then I'm even bartering for just a little more for you guys, and I haven't heard back if I will get that yet. So I can't yet say what it will be, but I'm asking for a little bit more than just the free shipping. But I'm pretty sure that free shipping is still going to be there. So I will hold on, and I will get you an email with all the information of what you can also expect. But don't use that Hub 20 anymore. They don't understand it. It isn't part of this new relationship. You'll get the free shipping, pretty sure, and hopefully one other thing. So that's what I can say.
No, Margine, originally there was a 10% off code.
Yeah.
The Alpha 10. Is that still valid? Okay.
Yep, this is valid. This is valid. You can use that now. You just put, this was a little letter that everybody got, but you guys in particular, you can use this. You get Hub 10, you get 10% off of your order. So Hub 10, you get 10% off. So yeah, use that.
Okay, perfect.
$200 on an Alpha order. Was that just for the the life-size wax statue of Nikki Gumbel, or?
I don't think so, but I could check into that for you, John.
Yeah, that's a lot of shipping cost. Well, I'm glad that that will not be a part of orders for everybody. So
no worries. I don't think anybody agrees.
All righty.
Very good.
Just really quickly, the White Alpha brochure that Margine showed you guys, the hard copy. I emailed all of our hub directors last week with a link to that and a PDF copy of that as well. So you guys have that in a couple of different formats, but there are some really nice printed copies that they're going to make available to you so that you'll have it in a variety of formats. So just so you know, that's the same product.
Excellent. Thank you so much, you guys. Would love to shift gears right now and talk about a skill that's critical for any Alpha team, any Alpha church that's running. And we've got some great folks on the call with loads of experience. Kirsten Telsrow is at National Community Church in the DC metro area, and would love for you, Kirsten, could you just do a quick introduction of yourself? Would love to ask you a couple of questions. I've got a couple of others that are on the call also that would love to share a little bit more about prayer. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Kirsten. I'm at National Community Church, and we've been doing Alpha for about over 10 years now. So it's been really exciting. And one of the things that we work on in particular is how we're incorporating prayer into basically every week for Alpha and leading up to Alpha.
That's cool. And how long have you been at National Community, and how did you come into contact with Alpha?
Yeah, so it's 2 years this week. And I actually didn't come into contact with Alpha until I got here. Alpha has been a part of our DNA, and it was brought to NCC many, many, many years ago. And so basically was a part of my job description, is that I would learn about Alpha, I would work alongside of our Alpha key person, and then here at NCC, and then I would be able to take that on. And so that happened, that transition probably was a matter of 3 months. And then I just took on Alpha and did a deep dive.
Yes, Alpha will do that to you for sure. So now your church is known across the country for prayer. What has helped contribute to that reputation for prayer, would you say?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would definitely say most of Pastor Mark's teaching and books, whether that's from a staff level or from the pulpit, or whether that's just a public level. Prayer is in everything that we do. In fact, it's so important that we have 1 hour of prayer as a staff prior to our staff meeting every single week. And so that's a part of our DNA. And because that's a part of our DNA, it bleeds through into all of our ministries. And so I would say that is how prayer became so essential in Alpha to some degree, because it was already a part of our DNA, but it also was something that we wanted to continue, knowing that, we cannot do the work of the Lord without the prayer, and Alpha requires the work of the Lord.
Yeah. So I've read the book Circle Maker, which how many of you are familiar with the book Circle Maker by Mark Batterson? That's at their church. So I'm imagining like your offices like have circles everywhere, like scratched on the walls, all over the carpet. Is that true? Is that the case?
It is not true. It is not true. We do have some Circle Maker lingo, and phrases, but it really is just, it's our heartbeat. I think that book was also written out of Pastor Mark's heartbeat. And so that's become evident in every single staff member, whether they are leading a ministry for our homeless friends, or whether we are, leading a ministry that is open to seekers in an urban ministry context.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's cool that this particular practice of your church doesn't just live in a book. It really is part of your culture. It's something that you really do. It's not just something that, Pastor Mark wrote a book about. So how do you like to incorporate prayer into the preparation of your Alpha before Alpha actually kicks off?
Yep. So there are a couple of things that we do before we have kickoff night. The first one is I notify something called War Room, and it's basically a small group of intercessory prayer warriors, and they gather every single week. And once I notify them when we're starting Alpha and what our specific prayer needs are for Alpha, they pray every single week. And so just knowing that there are other people outside of Alpha that know the power of Alpha and are willing to spend time praying for that, that's huge.
That's good.
The other thing is it's always on our staff prayer list. So I'll put the same specific needs for Alpha, as well as what I want them to be praying for. Maybe it'll be like a verse that the Lord impressed upon my heart, or it could be, we're really looking to have this type of people. Like last semester, we all prayed for the people to walk through the doors that, were kind of the frustrated people, like, I don't know why I'm here. And we prayed specifically for those people to show up at Alpha, and they did. So our staff list, that goes out to every single staff member. And like I said, that's always 1 hour prior to our staff meeting each week. And just our team, like when in our training, we spend time praying, in addition to knowing how to pray with the people at Alpha, it's praying for the people at Alpha over the chairs before they arrive. So that's what we do on the prep end.
That's so cool. So you guys go, how do you manage praying over the chairs like when guests arrive? I'm sure that has never happened, like where you've got people on your team that are trying to do things last minute. That's probably just us. Nobody else has that issue of last minute preparation, but how do you manage that tension?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it also depends on the time. So we start at 7:00. If they arrive at 6:30, and we're praying over the chairs, then usually I'll just quietly go over and say, hey, we're still finishing up a few things. If you wouldn't mind just waiting about 10 or 15 more minutes. Because I do think that there's value in welcoming them, but there's also value in praying for them before they arrive. Now, if they arrive at 6:45, then usually there are a couple of things. One is that's the time when people will start coming down the steps. And so they're more than welcome to come at around the 6:45 start time. But also then you can, for those leaders that don't have people coming to their table yet, start praying with your eyes open. You don't have to make it as visible as going from chair to chair with your eyes closed. You can just continue to meander around and be praying over the chairs or the tables, etc.
That's good. I'd be curious, Ian and Renee, we've got you guys on the call, and just in talking with you guys, I know prayer is such a value for how you run Alpha as well. And so I'm curious, what do you do in advance of your Alpha to just really, prepare spiritually and pray for the Alpha that's happening?
Yeah, thanks. So we do some similar things. We obviously gather the team together in anticipation of the startup of Alpha, and really that whole time is about connecting with God, because I think we've come to realize praying is really receiving God's love, and there's something about a team that has experienced God's love that is now wanting to just, out of the overflow of that, give to others. And so those prayer times have been a lot about learning to receive from the Lord. And so you might think, well, shouldn't it be about praying for people coming and praying for the logistics and praying for the details? But we don't do that much. We should, but the reality is we feel like we want the encounter so that we have something to give when that time comes. So that's kind of been one of the tenors. It's not the only thing we do when we pray, but that's always been a highlight, because we've wanted to keep prayer focused on this encounter with God and His great love for us. And so the Holy Spirit bringing into our lives fresh understanding of that. So that's one aspect. You guys
incorporate that into your weekly huddle every week. It's almost like you're doing prayer ministry.
Yes.
For your team every week.
Yeah, pretty much. So the half hour before, when we meet for prayer, that's kind of what we're doing. We're just delighting in God. We're telling Him how much we love Him, and we're asking Him to increase our faith, increase our awareness of Him. And then we often break down into groups of 2 or 3, and we say, now if God's giving you a word, or just encourage one another in prayer right now and love each other profoundly through those prayers. And it's like, then we just trust God to take care of those who are coming. So, I'm not saying this is the only way to do it, and we probably have to learn more to pray specifically for people, but I don't know, this has just been carrying us along in a way that has been invigorating. I don't know what you'd add, but.
Yeah, I agree. Early on, when we had our first Alpha launch 8 years ago here, Bill Drennan, who's the director for our region, came to us, and we said, we were so eager. It was a group of just 12 of us. And we said, what's the one thing you would tell us as we, launch our first alpha? And he said 3 things: pray, pray, pray. And we just grabbed a hold of that. And that's what we do. We pray as a team. We pray for each other. I mean, it's probably rare that anyone from our team sees each other and it doesn't end up with us praying together, because we just love to pray together. And so now that we have different locations for our alpha groups, we carry that same model of going early and praying. We actually keep our prayer time as a team separate from our alpha room, only just because of being sensitive to those who, aren't ready or are spooked out, by prayer. And we have some of our team then who will be in the room to welcome those who come early, because we can get kind of loud. We hope to, praying. And that's what we do. We just declare God's promises. We align ourselves with his heart, with his desire for people. And it's just our, it's really a life-giving time.
I would love to see this, because I'm picturing in my mind, I'm sure we all have a different picture in our mind of what your pre-alpha huddle looks like. Do you guys have worship? Does anybody play music during that time? Or is it you come in and like everybody, I just am picturing like, you guys have been doing this for 8 years and you pray every week, every time you go for alpha. And I'm like, good grief, I want to be in that room. That's what happens in that room? Like, how do you kick it off? How do you get it going?
Yeah, well, so we take turns. We do have a leadership team of 3. And we take turns basically leading that time of prayer. So you bring a thought, some insight into God's character or something that has just been particularly impacting you, and you feel the Holy Spirit's confirming that that's got relevance for that day. And so it's really just it almost feels like you don't have to spark it very much, but just bring one key idea to then pray into and pray out of, pray from. So it doesn't take a lot of prepping really to get people to pray, because I think they've realized the delight of it and the necessity of it. It's like breathing, isn't it? You want that heaven's oxygen in your lungs before you go out. So, I find that everybody's willing to pray and jump in, and I don't know what else to say about it. It's not very programmed so much, but
I think as soon as 2 people show up, they start praying together, and as people make their way there, they just join in and start praying. So the group just kind of grows as the leaders arrive.
Yeah.
And then somebody keeps an eye on the time so that we stop, when it's time to go in and greet our guests. And another thing that we do is, as a team, we also meet other times to pray. So we'll meet in advance of our kickoff. Then we also meet in advance of the weekend, usually sometime during that same week, a few days ahead of the weekend, just as a team, just to spend the entire time praying for the guests now that have become our friends, that we care about. We pray for them for this weekend, and just really press in interceding for them. And also it's a time where we can model prayer ministry for each other, especially some of the helpers who are new to faith, and it might be something new for them to pray for someone else.
Yeah.
Even some of the social anxieties that come with praying in a group. But we do that together, where we're a group of friends encouraging each other just to step into it. And so
that's really good.
Yeah.
I think if, as I'm just listening to you, I'm getting ideas for our own alpha. And I think you're doing prayer training then leading up to the weekend, where people get so comfortable by the time that weekend experience comes around that they've really had a great opportunity to pray for people, and they just get way more comfortable doing that. Because I think I've seen the shock and almost the terrified look in people's eyes, when we do the prayer training before the weekend, and they're like, "You want me to do that? There's no way I can do that." And they're just terrified. But I love that you guys give them a chance to do that each week. That's really good. Yeah. Hey, I want to share with you real quick. I was at a training last week, in the Bay Area of San Francisco. And at this training, we were in kind of a warehousey looking type room, and Gayla Tataro, who's one of our church relationship coordinators, goes to Rock Harbor, and which is in Southern California. She came up and she introduced this idea of having just big sticky notes on the wall. So while we were going through just the regular training to train your hosts and helpers, we took a moment. We showed the whole training video, and we paused it 3 different times during the video. We paused it to create an invitation list, and we prayed for people that we would want to invite to Alpha. We paused it to do some small group dynamic stuff, and then we ended with a time of prayer. But we kicked it off with these 4 categories of ways to pray. Things to pray for the team, things to pray for the weekend away, praying for the guests, and then praying for the administration. And what I liked about that, I thought it was such a great idea, is you can kind of see some of the different specific things to pray for. Is it was a great way to introduce people to all the stuff that has to get done on an Alpha. Yeah. And, the hosts and the helpers, initially were thinking, oh man, how are we going to be able to do this? But then once they see everything else that's happening, several of them said, well, hey, I didn't know you guys needed help there. Like, I'd love to help on that. And, so it was a great way to recruit. And we had people that were just taking pictures of these sticky notes that were hanging on the wall. And then those became the prayers then throughout the course. And they said, hey, put these, save these as like the wallpaper on your phone. And each week you could just pray for a different team of Alpha. And so everybody's going up and they're taking pictures, and then they're just praying over all the different elements of prayer. But we did that during our training, and it really was just it set a great atmosphere for our course. But Kirsten, you have a prayer coordinator, a lady named Meg. Tell us a little bit about what she does. We encourage every Alpha to have somebody who coordinates a prayer team and other prayer folks. Tell us a little bit about Meg, what she does, and how you guys utilize this prayer team.
Yeah, so Meg has basically been someone that has gone through Alpha. I've noticed that she is very, very gifted in prayer, and a little bit more of the contemplative type of person. And so very, very gifted in many different areas. And so basically, I approached her asking if she would be willing to be our prayer point person over our Alpha locations. And she essentially, when we get to the point of the week where we are talking about prayer and why prayer is important and how to pray, et cetera, and then we take prayer requests from the tables, that goes back to me, but then that also goes back to her. And then she's able to share that with our group leaders, like our table leaders, throughout the week. And our helpers are on that as well. But throughout the week, so that they know specifically what they can be praying for, or if they, if somehow they lost that piece of paper, etc. There's obviously a backup. But Meg is very, very intentional about praying for the people in all of the groups and across our locations. But one thing in particular that I love that she does is she also asks how she can be praying specifically for the leaders and the helpers. So, like there was one semester where we actually had a great leader, but then that leader all of a sudden had an injury and needed surgery immediately. And so she kept us up to date because of that, just between the leaders and the helpers. But it also can be, a time of healing and testimonies, like it's being recorded. And so, over time, once you have prayer requests that are recorded, you're able to see the answers as well.
That's good. How many of you have a prayer, like a person on your team that is overseeing prayer? Just a quick show of hands. Okay. That's so helpful. Any advice as you're trying to identify a prayer point person, Kirsten?
Yeah, someone that is gifted above and beyond in prayer. So what I mean by that is someone that looks specifically for how they can pray for somebody, someone that's willing to pray with somebody on the spot. These are people who are very intentional in prayer. Someone that may, pray in various different ways. They may be praying out loud. They may be praying in a prayer journal. They may be praying via Book of Common Prayer, etc. Just different venues to pray. So they're expanding their understanding of prayer. They're widening their capacity to pray as well. Those are the people I really look for, because I know that as soon as I give them a prayer request, they're going to invest in that prayer request.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one thing that I've noticed on several different churches is, in a prayer point person, you also need somebody who almost has the gift of evangelism, who can be a really good recruiter, because you need somebody who ultimately you want to enlist and mobilize more people to pray. And, sometimes you get somebody who's really good at just praying themselves and they're really prophetically gifted. But if you can find somebody who's attractional as well and can draw other people. So it may be a role for some of those that are evangelistically gifted on your team to draw them out from the tables. And we've talked about this, in different ways. If they don't have the ability to listen well at hosting a table, then put them in charge of the prayer team and say, look, this is the powerhouse of evangelism. You guys are going to do the heavy lifting of prayer, and gather your people. Let's see how many, if we could get somebody on the prayer team for every guest, let's, just let them go nuts. And I always think, finding those people it keeps your evangelists engaged as well.
Yeah. The other thing I'll say to that is, whoever your point person is, if you have one or if you have three, just recognize that they're not going to be all things prayer all the time. So you may have to recruit an additional person who may be gifted in healing, praying for healing. You may have to recruit someone who is gifted in prophecy and giving encouraging words, etc. Not every person has every gift for prayer. And so just being intentional about, bits and pieces of, okay, this person may be gifted in this area. Okay, we're going to welcome them on that team. This person may be gifted in this area. Okay, perfect. Those two together, it's an incredible match.
Yeah, that's good. And I know you guys, when it comes to the healing session, tell me how you navigate the prayer time there. Is there anything unique that you do on the healing session?
Yeah. So for the healing night, that's pretty big, only because of the fact that, it's big in of itself, but we make it live, intentional, instead of just the healing night video, because we want there to be an experience. And oftentimes if you're experiencing some of the teaching from the person right there, you're going to also experience the effects from that beyond a video screen. So we do that live. The other piece that we do is I invite our select individuals from our prayer teams across all of our campuses, and I say, hey, I've got a running list. So if they have experience in Alpha, or I know they have a specific gift in prayer, then I will bring them both to the training as well as to healing night. And we've seen it work wonders. It's so much more. It's one of those things where you're like, okay, we could do this good if we did it just by ourselves. We could do this great if we brought in other people that we know specialize in this. So that's one of the things that we do. And we've had healings on the spot. And I know that, other alphas have as well, but I think a lot of ours is attributed because we have the right people in the room. That's cool.
Okay. I want you to think of one story. Give us a good prayer story.
Yeah. So Melissa, we had been praying for her since she walked through the door. She did not know why she was at Alpha. She just felt like she needed to be at Alpha, heard about it, signed up for it. Through the course of of being in Alpha, her stepdad was diagnosed with major heart health issues. And then she had gone through some major shoulder injuries. And it was incredibly painful for her. Now, most of us did not know all of these pieces until the end, but she would make it, a prayer point in her group. Like, okay, we got to week 3 or week 4, and she said, I guess I could ask for a prayer for my stepdad. Okay, great. So that was written down. Then all of a sudden we started to, gradually move towards, her stepdad was healed. Okay, she made note of that as well. Then we get to healing night, and she thought, well, I've never been a part of this before or anything like it. I'm just going to ask for healing for my shoulder. Her entire group table prayed for her shoulder, and she was healed on the spot. So, and now she's one of our table leaders. And so if you look back and like even just hearing her talk about, she had no clue why she was at Alpha, but now she knows it was for the healing of her stepdad and the healing of herself and growing closer into the Lord. Like that was brought on not only by the healing night, but prayer and healing throughout the entire core.
That's so good. Yeah. Way to go, God. That's awesome. All right, Ian, you and Renee, tips that you guys have learned for how to really cultivate prayer throughout Alpha. Any other ideas that you guys utilize either on the weekend or, any of those evenings that you're like, oh man, we got to share these ideas. These would be great.
What do you think?
Well, I think for us, part of our practice here at Alpha is just modeling praying. So we talk about it, the principles of prayer and things like that a little bit, but then we just pray. And so that's how our training happens for our team, is just in praying together. And those who've been leading longer are modeling for those who are newer. And it's just kind of this cycle that stretches out where it's just part of it. It becomes really, you can't separate prayer into any one part of Alpha or any one time, really. So I think modeling prayer is important for us.
Yes, and we have a ministry nearby that it's actually a ministry school, and so they've had a lot of good input over the years on places that we've not been yet. And so what, in the sense of God's ability to be immanent and show up and do amazing things. So we've asked them to come to our team training times and give us some deeper understanding on prayer and on ministry. That's been invaluable. So, it may be that you have outside your church other resources that you can call in to give further training. So that's been helpful. And then we've also encouraged our Alpha team to always be available when there's larger events in the church that require prayer teams to be there. So whether it's a church-wide healing night, we've strongly encouraged our prayer team, our Alpha leaders, to come to that and be available. So, just always looking for opportunities for them to experience prayer, but practice prayer and minister to others through prayer.
That's really good. Let me open it up. Let's just take 5 minutes. Those of you that are running Alpha, any other things that you're doing creatively with prayer to really throw, fuel on the fire? What else do you do? How about you, Mrs. Kirby? I bet you guys do some creative stuff. I'm sure you do. Yes, you're on mute. Do we have to unmute you?
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Well, one is we do it, because we always have it in our plans, but then you have to actually do it, make the time to do it. We just had training a couple of weeks ago, and as I forgot which one of you were talking at the time, but I was looking back over our training, and when you were showing up those big Post-it notes, we don't have it in big Post-it notes, but we have it in one of our training kind of little manual that we hand out, which is an addendum to our leader training that we get from you. But it's almost those same exact categories. And we do it at tables. Okay, now we're going to pray for this. Now we're going to pray for that. And we try to kind of mix it up every time. So in our leader meeting that we have each week before Alpha begins, we meet for about half an hour, and probably 20 minutes of that half an hour is all about prayer as a team. And that's just our leaders. Then we have a prayer team who meets before our regular leader team gets together. But we try to sort of copy HCB on, we're going to pray at the same time, and then this table over here is going to pray for this, and this table is going to pray for that. And it keeps people really engaged. And like you were saying a minute ago, when we leave out of there, because we also have people who are welcoming over in the room we do Alpha. They're already there. Guests are being welcome as they come in if we're kind of transitioning at the same time. But our leaders come out like, yeah, let's go. Because we're, loved up, like Ian and Renee were saying, and like we're ready to go. And it is, I can't imagine not having that time before we start. I just can't imagine I wouldn't want to do it. But it's just to mix it up and to find different things that are working, and to having kind of those blocks of things to pray for is just very helpful. It helps everybody to kind of focus in on the same thing at the same time.
That's really good. One thing I would encourage your teams on, and I learned this from Mariners Church, actually, they planted Rock Harbor, but they came out with a curriculum called Rooted, which you may be familiar with. But they said as they run their thing, they noticed one term that their leaders were just getting sick left and right. And I mean, their leaders were dropping like flies. And so they just recognized there was so much spiritual warfare going on. And so they just dedicated, 1 day a week to fasting throughout their course. And, so I would encourage you, if you're regularly bumping up against a barrier, maybe it's a growth barrier or conflicts on your team or something that you just need a breakthrough on, I would encourage you to get your prayer team to be fasting as well. And maybe even encourage those that are on your team. It might be a new discipline for them to try, but encourage them to even give up a meal once a week. Maybe not the whole day, but maybe they give up one meal, they give up a morning, an afternoon, or a dinner, and they get to pick. But to dedicate that, time to fast and to pray for your Alpha. And, just going back to what Jesus said, there are certain things that only come loose when we fast and when we pray. And so just to encourage that with you. But enough talk. I think we should pray. Don't you guys think? So Lindsay has actually arranged it so that we're going to have breakouts so that we're not all on the same thing. So you will be assigned into a room with 2 other people. And we would love to just take the next 15 minutes and pray and give you guys an opportunity to pray for each other, pray for your alphas. You can do, a quick introduction. But let's just take the next 15 minutes and pray for each other and ask God to do what only he can do. So thanks everybody for being on the call today. Let's get about the work of prayer. God bless.
Great.
All you gotta do is click join breakout room.
Join.